Hello traders, this is Ad Zeros, and I wanted to do a weekly recap. We going to analyze the market, what SPY has done last week, what has the Nasdaq has done, and what we have expectations going towards the next week, and what are the key stocks I'm looking to see as a momentum for the next week. So let's dive in, and if you wanted to see these kind of videos more often, give me a thumbs up and leave your comments, and feel free to ask any questions you have. Let's go dive in. So look at the SPY. So if we look at the SPY, overall we would have seen the week started last week from the September 11th. We had the three green days, the two red, which is the distribution days, and you can see clearly that it is a retesting of the September 7th low. And and if you look at it even on the daily basis, you can clearly see that it's making a uh, higher low here, and then it's clearly a nice momentum. Even if you look at it right now, it is, yeah, we can clearly see that the market is in the range of 452 to 443, and this is the very momentum. We don't know whether market going to break uh, downward or is going to break upward. So it can possible like this. If we see here, it can go just down, or we just see some consolidation and then it's rip up. So at this point, the market is doesn't have the clear direction on the daily basis. But when you see the sometimes a daily chop and too much noise, and you cannot figure out what the stock is going to do, is always best to switch towards the weekly chart. And let's go back and look at the weekly chart. So if you look at the weekly chart, it is very interesting. You can see, and I'm going to tell you something which is not pretty uh, common here to say, and they are saying, it might be a negative sentiment in the market. So you can clearly see that when the market was moving up, what direction? We had a 3 weeks of distribution, 2 weeks of upward buying, and then the distribution. So, you know, uh, it may be a test first higher, lower high, and then the market rip. But if you look at it, this is the day where this momentum comes in. This is the week where the momentum came in, right? It's a weekly chart. So let me just remove everything and then let's do it quickly. So this is the day when the momentum came in, right? Very strong uh, candle on the week. Of course, we see that the volume is not that great. It is a little lower than the previous weeks or the distribution weeks. That's clearly shows that. But now, this is the day what I'm really counting on it. So now if you look at it, we had the 2 weeks of distribution here now, but this is still above this 440 uh, price where the momentum begins. So for me, I wouldn't consider the trend broke until we clearly see that this levels are broke. 440 is breaking down, and then market is going lower on the 422. Unless this momentum is there, still last week was rough, but then still closed above the weak momentum opening price. So I still the bullish momentum. The likely scenario, what I see in the market next week, couple of things we can expect. Clearly, that the one scenario would be that the market retest this area and then bounce, or maybe breach and then move back up, or or it's just a consolidation between this week, last week range, and then maybe the end of the month is rally on the upside. So it could be anything, but this is clearly we can see that any time the S&P try to come over the to 450, we see some resistance. So definitely there is a resistance area, but still the momentum in, it's not like that the momentum has broken down. And the similar picture you will see in the Nasdaq. Let me just go back to the Nasdaq. Similar, still above the 9 EMA on the weekly chart, similar to SPY, still closed above the momentum week. Definitely we see more than the volume here, lower volume on the buying and then higher volume on the distribution. So that's a worrisome sign, but it also means that even with this volume, it couldn't broke the 9 EMA on the weekly chart. That is a very positive for me, and it can definitely hold that and move back up. So uh, this is the Nasdaq and S&P. Now look at the some of the equal weight indexes, which is the RSP. And if you look at the RSP, is basically S&P equal weight. And interestingly, if you see, it just shows a little different picture here. So this was the week where we saw S&P momentum. We also see here as a momentum. We see higher volume than the other S&P charts. Equal weight has a more volume. It's mean that the breadth has increased. But then you can clearly see here that the last 2 days, which is distribution with the lower volume, but it broke that momentum week candle. So it's closed below that. So for me, I didn't like this thing. So even though this is positive here, but this is negative. So for us, we really need to see that does can the market hold this support area? And if it can hold the support area, you can clearly see that there is a clear chance that the market can again make the new high. But one more thing which is very important to see that on the 2023 uh, on the weekly chart, S&P made the high here, then couldn't try to attempt the high but couldn't break that, and it's maybe that before it's make the new high, it just need a little bit more consolidation on this range. So uh, various possibility, a market is in the verge where it can go either direction, but the moving average is still intact. So it's likely that next week going to be the week where it's going to be decisive, the market wanted to breach the things or wanted to move back up. And the next week would be decisive in a way as well as that the Fed meeting is also coming up. So it could be a decisive factor to where market going to decide what Fed will make the decisions based on that, whether market wanted to move up or want to break down. Let's look at the some of the previous week stocks, which was in my list. I had a very nice week last week, and we'll see that what stock will be doing on the last week. It does still have a setup in place, and then what are the new stocks we can identify. So if you look at the FRM, which is the first one here, and this is really looks good. Still have the bullish momentum. You see here, despite the distribution. Ephraim is still holding it. So if I go back here and if we look at in the bigger scenario, um, and let's go back to the weekly, a very nice weekly moving up, already broke those previous resistance. On a daily, you can see here nicely holding the 5 moving EMA, which is a really nice sign. And I think I would like to trade this breakout if it happens in the next week, which is around the 24.41. So it looks really bullish. And if we get this breakout trade and the market has a bounce on the next week and this can break, it could be a really an awesome trade, could be, and we can get some kind of a momentum in the initial like this. So it's really holding very nicely. I didn't trade last week because the candle size were too small. Doesn't have, if you look at go back here, it has some nicer momentum. So for instance, it could be nice trade here around the 2360, and then you can see, but I really wanted to uh, see some sort of a momentum rather than the red to green move. More more initial move in the first few minutes, and I didn't see in the last few days, except that is the day where September 12th you see those kind of I wanted to see those kind of a days. But I didn't trade in the last week, so I'm definitely it was in my watch list. It will continue to be in my watch list, and we'll see that. So, or unless so I will still shortlist that. Let's look at the Amazon. Amazon is really strong in the market right now, and if we see here, let's look at the in the little uh, zoom in view. Definitely a little ugly on the week on the daily chart. Very nice yesterday distribution, retesting the 9 EMA after it failed breakout on the previous resistance. So Amazon has the earning on this day. It has a bounce, and then it tried to break couple of time. So one time. And then this day it was successful, but after falling, they couldn't continue the momentum and it sell off. So for me now, if I look at the action plan, what would be my uh, plays I'm looking to see? I'm going to go back to the weekly chart just to see what does look like. Very interesting. So if I still for me the last week opening price, which is 130.83, would be an interesting price area which could be aligned with the retesting of the 5 EMA with the momentum candle. And I'm also going to see a breakout of this 141 area. These two candles, if it break out, I can see that it can retest this area. So has a nice momentum area. So we have a some nice momentum, or market if market gaps down on Monday morning and retest this moving average, which is around 136, that could be my buying point for me. Let's look at the coin. Coin is still intact, and let me just on this moving averages. So if you look at the coin, it's still consolidating. Uh, just like quickly look at the coin. Uh, Still my previous area where I wanted to go long, which is 186.85. So I'm still going to look at it and see whether it can consolidate. It has a very nice, uh, you know, ascending cycle here. If you look at it, it's really trying to consolidate into this area. And if it's break upside, that could be the where, we can have a nice momentum. So I'm gonna continue to watch this as well. So it seems like our last week stock, our my watch list still intact. CRM, I will drop it. It's dropping. It's closing the gap. Um, Only thing what I would be interested if it can hold this previous gap. Crowd still up, but nothing momentum. No real momentum is only a couple of dollar range, so it's hard to trade. CVNA is still intact. Look at the bullish candle, close above 50, and it can possible that it can break today. And if it can break in the next week, it definitely has a momentum to go to 80, 90, or $100 range to retest the way CVNA reacted in the last few months. I will drop the dash. Doesn't have any, real momentum. Candles, FSLY is selling off, so I'm not interested. Google is holding up, but not have a nicer range for us to play. So I'm gonna drop that. Meta is looks interesting. Let's just look at the analyze. Meta a couple of time trying to uh, break out, but if you look at it. It has heavy distribution with the volume on yesterday with a solid red candle, and if it break down under $300 and market go the negative momentum, we can clearly see that uh, that the Meta can test this area. So we have a nice momentum. So I'm gonna keep it on the short side if the market has a negative momentum. Let's look at the next one. Uh, MS50, nothing, just it's just breaking down. So if it's negative momentum, likely it's gonna retest 310 area. I'm gonna drop now. It's not going any momentum right now. NVDA looks really interesting. So if you look at the NVDA and let's just zoom in to see that. See here. So if you look at the NVDA, it is below all the moving averages. It dropped to 50. 200 is very much away. But I think what is interesting to me is that this is still above the 400 level. Um, um, so above this level, just let me mark it here. So this level, and this, you remember this candle when we had the when we were trading it, it reached last time at 405 and just really big momentum. So likely we're gonna see a gap down in the next few days, and then the retest this area which is close to the 400, and then we'll see some bounce and some buying again as a psychological number, and then move back up. Or it's just that it's just gonna be a very small bounce and then just drop. So don't get caught up into the 400. It can go either way, but definitely there would be a one short-term trade close to the 400 area. Let's go back to our list. Um, PDD looks good. I had a couple of negative trades last week, but I kept it very small. I wanted to see the break of 100. Couple of times I get caught up. I tried to break 100 sometime by 20 cents, 15 cents, and just fall back. And immediately when it's failed, I just close that. So I'm still going to watch, and if it's break 100, it has a momentum to go and break this one. So I'm still watching it to see that if it can really break the 100 level. And the Tesla. Let's look at the Tesla together. Uh, Let me just zoom in. Tesla is nicely moving in. If you look at it here, uh, look at this, how beautifully it's moving up. Um, you know, Tried to break, but couldn't break. So this 274, 275 area would be an interesting one. And if we can get this break next week, it could be an awesome, because if it's break to 275, I likely gonna swing some of my stock, some of my shares, because it's look like that 300 would be the retest. So I'm really counting on this, that if we can break this, we can get the momentum up to the 300 dollar. Now is if we can break tomorrow, or take one more day to consolidate and then break, or it's maybe a chop, break, fail, and then consolidate, and then on Wednesday or Thursday when we have the Fed meeting, and then it's a break. So it could be either scenario, but be cautious. Do not let that go against you in the hope that it's gonna is continue to break. All right, so that's all I have. What I will do, I'm going to run my new scenarios, my scanners, and then I will see that if I find more stocks for you guys to share with you, I'm gonna happy to share with you in the next video. And feel free to give me a thumbs up if you like it. If you wanted to see more videos, let me know in my comment sections so that I can make more videos for you guys like that. Thank you.